Lesson 204, Form Validation. All right, so we're back at IntelliJ. We're going to click on Create New Project. Click on Spring Initializer on the left and select Next. And we're going to name this one Spring Boot 204 and hit Next. And I'm going to select the web and time leaf dependencies. Web and time leaf. And select Next. Give my project a name and click Finish. And I'll be back after... Oh, well, that was really fast. Okay, so IntelliJ has done its thing. I have my project. So the first thing I need is to create my bean. So I'm going to expand Spring Boot, expand source, expand main, expand Java, and then right click on the package and say new Java class, and we're going to call it TV show. Okay. And this time I'm not just going to have private member variables. I'm also going to annotate those member variables, and we'll see what we mean in a second. So these annotations are what the validator is going to use to figure out what each variable can or cannot be. So which ones can't be null, which ones have a minimum or a maximum length or value. And so here we're setting the ID to being not null with a minimum of 1. We're setting name to be not null with a size that is a minimum of 3 characters and a maximum of 20. The type is going to have a minimum of 3 characters and a maximum of 10. And the description is going to have a minimum of 10 characters and a maximum of 30. Once we do that, we would just do the normal thing where we would generate our getters and setters. We're going to set them for all of the fields, all of the variables. And oops, because I had my cursor there, it created them in the middle. I want to actually create them in the end. Generate getters and setters. Okay. And now that I've created that, let's go ahead and create our controller. So I'm going to right click again on the package, select new Java class, home controller, annotate it as controller, and we're going to have a couple of methods in here. They're going to look like this. So we have a get mapping, a post mapping, of course we're going to use the UI model to pass values to our template, and we have this pesky little mismatch on our quotation marks, so I'll take a quick break and fix that. Now that all the quotation marks are fixed, we have a new import for valid and binding result, and all of our imports are done. So what is going on here? Just like in the last example, we are loading a form and we're passing an empty object to the form so that it can map them to the fields. And then when that form is submitted, we are catching all of those values, but instead of using @ModelAttribute, we're using @valid, which allows it to understand that we want it to use the validator. And because we're using the validator, we're also going to catch a binding result, and that is what's going to let us know whether there is or is not an error on the validation. So we're creating a variable of type result. We're creating a variable called result of type binding result, and we can ask the result variable, do you have errors? And if it does, take us back to the form, and if it doesn't, take us to the confirm page. Everything else pretty much gets handled on the form. So let's go ahead and create a template for our form. I'm going to open the resources folder, click on templates, right click, new HTML file, and this is going to be called TV form. And we're going to replace our empty body tags with this, which is our form. And again, we're passing in, using THObject, the TV show variable. So it's going to use that to populate, to basically map all the fields of the form to the object, so it has something to catch when it comes back on the other end. And there's this additional information that we didn't have in the last example, TH errors. So when we bounce back to the form, because there were result dot has errors, returns true. When we come back, it brings back not only the values that it has, but it also, because we were using @valid up here and binding result, it'll tell us which fields have the error, and it will print the error next to the field, and we'll show you what that looks like when we run it. So we have the template for the form, and we're going to create another template for our confirm page. TV show confirm. And then once that's done, we're going to put something kind of like what we did with the song, just to catch our variable values. Again, problem with the smart quotes that I'm going to fix real quick. And let's run the application and see what it looks like. So when I run the application, once it's finished running, remember, if you go to your local host, just your default route, you're not going to see anything, because in our home controller, we didn't put anything for just slash. We put TV form. So that is what we have to go to try to run our application. So I'm going to go to localhost 8080/TV form. And if this is done loading, which it has, then we can load our TV form. And it said could not parse as expression, TV show, line 10, column 7. These errors are not uncommon. Let me take a look at our template. Line 10, column 7, and apparently I didn't get all of the mismatch quotation marks. So let me fix that. Now that I've fixed all the quotation marks, we should be able to run this again. So stop and rerun it. So once this is done, let's go back to our browser, reload, and we can create a new show. So Big Bang Theory, the type is a comedy, and the description basically is nerds with girlfriends. Well, actually they're all wives now, but let's go with that. And so right now, this is absolutely what we were supposed to do. But if I create an error, so let's say the type was shorter than the required length. If I submit this, it comes back to the page and it says that the ID must be greater than or equal to 1, because we set min of 1, and it says that the size must be between 3 and 10 for the type, because under type we said minimum 3, maximum 10, and it handles the messages and everything all on its own. So once I go through here and change this and submit it, the TV show's name was Big Bang Theory. It is a comedy. It could be best be described as nerds with girlfriends. The fact that we got to the confirm page means that we passed all of the validations, and setting up an application with form validation is just that easy.